Hey, good morning. Good morning. Okay. Oh, God. Good morning, Oakdale. Welcome to the Bible study. Today I'm substituting for Sister Sharon Davis, and I'm going to continue the series on unhurried life. I'm going to start chapter 3, productivity. And Sharon gave me the opportunity to talk about one word, which is good, and that's lazy. Now, I'm going to do something different. And I'm going to tell you exactly what I'm going to do through this entire presentation. And then you can ask questions. What I'm going to do is I'm going to give you an introduction. I'm going to give you the definition of the word lazy from a dictionary. I'm going to tell you a story. Actually, throughout the presentation, I'm going to tell you several stories. All of them have something to do with me. In these stories, I want you to find out who is lazy, if anyone, in these stories. And we're going to go back and forth with questions and answers related to the stories. But I'm going to give you the first story, but I'm not going to give you a chance to ask any questions. Then I'm going to give you the biblical version of laziness. At that time, you can ask questions about the biblical version and the first story. After that, I give you other stories, and you have an opportunity directly after I give you the story to tell me who was lazy in the story, and of course, as a teacher, why. Why do you think so? Okay, let's start. Okay, lazy is one of the harsh words that we couldn't use growing up. In my household, we had to substitute the word not working. Other words was liar. The person actually was just telling a story, giving the untruth. Another word that my mother couldn't stand was hate. You cannot hate anybody. You can dislike them, you can say they're not my friend, or they weren't nice to me, but you couldn't use the word hate. And I had several friends and relatives that my parents didn't care for. That's why they were my friends and relatives. They tried very hard to explain the benefits of being lazy. And I took it all in. But my parents and other adults and friends overruled them. So one of the things I did, the first thing I did was look up the word lazy. I looked in Merriam-Webster Dictionary, and they define lazy as suggested lack of a desire to work or to take trouble. And I thought that was interesting. Then I looked at Cambridge. They define lazy not willing or not wanting to work or use effort to do something. And I look in other dictionaries, and I was tired of looking at dictionaries. It's the same thing. People just don't want to work. So I looked at the synonyms, and the synonyms were quite interesting. Some of them I never heard before. I heard people calling people a bum, lounging, resting, goofing off, dilly-dallying, hanging around, kickback, laze, which I never heard before, chill, relax, dawdle, and strolling. And they had so many words for lazy, probably as many words they have for work. So I thought that was interesting. So the first story I'm going to share with you is titled The Force of Multiplication, the multiplication table. In fourth grade, I attended a Catholic elementary school where corporal punishment was allowed. Anything you did, they whack you. The math teachers gave us 1 week to memorize the multiplication table. We fourth graders, and you're going to give us 1 week to memorize from 1 to 12. You know, to ourselves, we said, good luck. And we tried, we really tried, but we are fourth graders. After a week passed, most of the class didn't memorize the multiplication table. We tried to help one another, tried to pass some signs to help others to recite because he was asking questions to the class. It didn't work. So he decided to call us lazy. In the following week, he said every time you made an incorrect answer, he was going to paddle you. Now, when the first child got paddled, it grabbed our attention. I got paddled 3 times, and I refused to cry. So the week passed, and he asked us to recite a multiplication. Everybody in the class knew their multiplication. This story still haunts me, but I'm good at multiplying. Now I want to take a look what the Bible says from Proverbs 6, verse 6 through 11, about laziness. It states, "Go to the ant, you sluggard. Consider its ways and be wise. It has no commander, no overseer or ruler, yet it stores provisions in the summer and gathers its food at harvest. How long will you lie there, you sluggard? When will you get up from your sleep? A little sleep, a little slumber, a little folding hand to rest, and poverty will come on you like a thief, and scarcity will be like an armed man." One of the things about unhurried and laziness are not equivalent. Jesus was unhurried, but he was not lazy. So my question to you, the first question is, in either one of the stories, the biblical verse or the first story that I gave you, who played a role in lazy? In the multiplication story or the biblical verse that I gave you, who played a role in being lazy? And why?
So I'm speaking specifically from an educator's standpoint. The teacher was lazy, I believe. And I believe the teacher was lazy because there's a different way to teach multiplication facts than by rote memorization. Now, I'm also coming at this from a different perspective because I too attended Catholic school, and I understand everything that you just talked about from that perspective. That was the way you were taught then. But as I matriculated, we had a different teacher who taught just so much better. Taught us to do different things where we used our mathematical knowledge that then demonstrated that we knew the multiplication facts. And so I contend that it was the teacher.
Okay. And I agree with you, because I also learned later in life just looking at the number. And I'm a scientist, but I love math. And it probably has something to do with the multiplication table. If you look at the multiplication table, multiplication, mathematics is like a pattern. And what you see is a repetition. The numbers are actually, and there's a lot of people go through life with math. I hate math. I don't understand math and all this. It's a repetition that sometimes some teachers do not explain that. It's actually art. If you look at the threes, if you look at the twos, if you look at the Ys, I'm getting ready to go way into numberland. Continue. Anybody else? What about the verse with the ant? And it's in your book in chapter 3 about looking at the ant. Anyone? Anyone? As a kid,
But we heard the story about the ant. He's not lazy. He does what he needs to do when he needs to do it.
but they compared him against somebody else.
Compared to somebody else who does nothing.
Yes, the slugger.
Okay.
I'm one to, and I guess that's why I kind of drifted towards science instead of the numbers. I watch ants. Do you realize an ant can pick over his weight? Do you realize an ant can pick up a potato chip? Do you realize an ant make a trail for his friends to follow to go back and get more potato chips? And I did an impromptu study of the ant. I'm sitting here watching these ants take apart my potato chips. I crunched them up, put them down there, and they were taking it. So I decided to do, a little kid, I took the potato chip away from him. And the ant went around in circles. He was frustrated, he was mad, and I guess his friends saw what I did. So I'm standing there with sandals on, and the next thing I knew, I had about 20 ants on my toes biting me, letting me know, don't do that to our brother. We at work, and you observing us. Any more about the ant comparing? Okay, so in that story, in the,
Excuse me.
yes,
One of the things we're also talked about with the ant is the fact that they prepare for the coming season. And so they're ready, as opposed to the one who does not prepare for the future or prepare for the winter. They, living for the moment or whatever. But the ant is industrious to save, to be present, but also know that the winter is coming and to prepare
Yes.
for it.
and that is true. So when we look at the passage warns us of being trapped in laziness. The sluggard or the lazy person is captive by leisure. And he can learn from all he needs to know by studying the ant, a humble creature. At least I thought they were humble. That busy itself with storing food, as Corleen said, during the summer to face against the winter that's coming ahead. Like the ant, a wise person works hard. By contrast, a lazy person is addicted to sleep and has lost all interest in work. Is that fair?
you can't say all the people are lazy because some people don't have the energy other people have. Some have a lot of energy, some people don't. I wouldn't say that when a person lie down and sleep or just don't do things. And it may not be that he's lazy, but he may not have the energy that his friend may have.
That is
Because
true.
Like myself, I be doing a lot of things. My neighbor, she doesn't do anything.
But like you
I'm on my
said,
lawn.
she don't have the energy.
Yeah, but see, I mow my lawn, I put up decorations. She doesn't do any of it. The grass go up to her door, up to her window. She doesn't do it, so I don't know where she had the energy or what. She just doesn't do it. So you can't say she was lazy. She may have another problem. She may not have a lot of energy.
So how will we find out the difference if the person is lazy or don't have the energy?
Didn't do things because that's my neighbor.
Right. You want to keep her as your neighbor.
Yes. I don't know.
Sure.
Biblically, laziness.
Yes.
Biblically, it says laziness is a sinful aversion to work and responsibility arising from indifference, excessive sleep, fear, and a dislike of exertion. It is a form of foolishness that leads to want, poverty, and social inferiority. The Bible encourages diligence and hard work as God-given duties, seeing productive activity as a way to serve God and evidence of faith.
So, no, you're not throwing me away. So are you saying that if a person is lazy, by definition, they sinning? I'm just asking a question.
That's what well, that's what he just said there.
But my question is, do you believe that?
I don't, I've always heard that if you don't work, you don't eat. So if you don't work, you don't eat. What does that mean, that you're lazy because you don't want to work? Because some people just don't want to work.
But what if you can't work? Then
If
what?
you can't work, then there's some help for people who can't work.
Okay,
Yeah.
there's a difference. Anyone else?
I think the question was, how do you know the difference?
Yes.
I'm going to suggest
Go
that you
ahead.
may not know the difference. But, well, at least for me, if I see somebody, in the example of the grass, if I'm strong and well enough to cut my grass and I see my neighbor's grass is up to the window, I'm going to go cut my neighbor's grass, if I'm able.
Okay.
Now, whether she's ill and not able to do so, or whether she's lazy and not able to do so, or maybe she don't have a lawnmower. Whatever the case, it's not for me to judge.
Okay.
If this grass is bothering me, I need to go over here and cut it. And I'm just saying that because that was the example that was put out there. I have a neighbor in the building I live in. Can't hear work nothing. Last thing I hear at night, first thing I hear in the morning. And he's outside with that noise. I have this Centerwell app that allows me to order different things. I ordered a brother the hearing aid, now I can sleep.
Okay, so everybody agree an unhealthy life and laziness are not equivalent. That Jesus was unhurried, but he was not lazy. So let me go to my second story. And my second story is called What Color Are the Bricks? My brothers and I made plans for a carefree summer with softball, football, and anything else we could get into. We either were too old for summer camp or too young for an NYC job. My dad had other plans. He decided that he wanted the bricks on the back porch that was enclosed, he wanted them painted. Now, anybody knows something about bricks, you know that between the bricks, there's mortar. And you know the bricks itself chips off. And you know, with bricks, it absorbs liquid. We didn't know all that. So the original color, which we couldn't understand, the original color of the brick was yellow. Nothing was wrong with the paint. It wasn't chipped away or anything. So my father decided to go out and buy some bright green paint. And our assignment during the summer, for the first day of summer, where all the other kids are playing and having fun and knocking on our door and asking us to play softball, football, and be like normal kids. By the way, some of these kids were the kids that my parents didn't like, that knew how to be lazy. Our job was to paint these bricks. And as brothers, well known as the Three Musketeers, we decide to paint it quickly. We spent the whole day painting it quickly. And my father came home, he looked at the bricks, and he said, I cannot wait till the paint dried the next day. And we were ecstatic. We were happy because we can go outside, but he had something else for us to do. The next day, when he came home from work, he had us line up to look at the bricks. Anybody know painting bricks is not easy. So it was green and had spots of yellow all through the bricks. My father said, that is not acceptable. And all our hearts dropped to the floor. He said, the good news is I have some more paint. Now, he's saying this. In my mind, I'm thinking something, but I don't want my eyes to reveal what my mind is thinking because I wanted to live another day. So me and my brothers, we huddled, the Three Musketeers, and we said, this time we're going to take our time. It's going to take us 2 days. We're going to fill every crack that this man, no longer our father, we call him this man. We did not say that in front of his face. We said it among ourselves and threatened each other if we ever told that we call our father this man, we were going to do some harm to our brothers. We took our time. We painted for 2 days. And it was so pretty. That ugly green was so pretty. We waited another day, thinking we wouldn't have anything to do, and he found something else for us to do. And we stayed focused. We just smiled, whatever you say. The paint dried. We looked at the bricks. See, we did something. We did one of these control inspection. Each one of us looked at the bricks up and down. We were looking for cracks. We were looking for yellow paint from the previous time. And we all agreed we didn't see any. So we were happy that our daddy is going to see this and he's going to be proud of us. My father he was interesting. He looked at the bricks, he had a gold tooth, and he smiled. And we smiled with him. Then he took his hand and put it under his chin and said, I don't like this color. We kept focused. And we said, why not, Dad? I don't have to tell you why. I wanted another color. And we said, oh, okay, when you get a chance to get the paint, let us know and we'll repaint it. He said, it's funny you say that. I already have the paint. And the paint was blue. How do you go from yellow to green to blue? And my mother didn't have anything to say in this. So we painted again. We call ourselves taking our time. Now you have a third layer of paint over bricks. How is the paint going to adhere to a painted brick? And we took our time. And it dried. And we didn't even look. We called our father out thinking, half the summer is gone now. This man and his painted bricks. He looked at it. He said, you did well. I don't see any yellow, but I see green. And we said to ourselves, are you serious? He said, yes, I see green. I want the green to disappear. So that we kind of ran out of paint. He said, no, you didn't. I have some more. And we painted the bricks again. And then he said, you did a great job. But I liked it yellow. By the time we painted those bricks, back to yellow, with no spots, it was time to go to school. I had a conversation with him, and I'm going to let you ask me questions first, because I had a conversation with him as an adult. We were talking about something else, and somehow bricks came up. And I'm going to tell you what he said. So what do you think about that story? It was lazy in the story?
I feel they're trying to keep y'all busy.
That was his answer as an adult to keep me out of trouble and to keep me busy. And just to see how we were going to react when somebody tells us to do something over and over again. And we became unhurried, but we weren't lazy. The next story is probably related to the multiplication table. And you can help me out on this one because it involves me. I'm the teacher. What's that? One thing is to pay attention, not be in a hurry, listen to what he's saying, and try to figure out where he's going with this. What is behind all this? Is it that he didn't want us to have fun? Like I say, later on, when I was in my 40s, I asked him about it. That's when you can really talk to your parents, like, what you were doing back then, what was the point? Because you always give me these, never pick up wooden nickels, never let nobody make a fool out of you. All these little rhymes what was the purpose of the bricks? He said so many things was going on that I wanted to keep you busy. And I want to see whether or not you can pay attention. I want to see whether or not you get frustrated and get beside yourself, which you didn't. That's why y'all still living. And I'm talking to you today. He said, when you get on a job and you don't perform to their level, or if you perform to their level and they ask you to do it again, if you have a family to feed, just go ahead and do it again. It's better to learn now than to learn later in life. And, I'm looking at him like, why you just tell us, okay? All this pain, you missed my summer. He said, no, you missed a point. I was protecting my family. So I thought that was very important. The next story is about me. That's why I said the multiplication story is going to come back and haunt me. I was in my 4th year teaching chemistry. I was actually good at it. After that first year of being scared and everything, going to the bathroom and vomit, because now I'm an introvert. I have to stand in front of a group of people and talk and everything. I was okay, and I knew my stuff. And I knew my stuff. And in teaching, I think here they call it standards. When I was teaching in Louisiana, they call it objectives. So for chemistry, you had 104 objectives to cover. And I'll give you an example. The example is students should be able to distinguish between the states of matter, gas, liquid, and solid. If they understand that, you accomplish the objective. So this 4th year, I'm rolling. I'm really going at it. I'm standing in front of the student. It's October, and I'm 1/3 of the way finishing the whole subject. I'm so excited and everything, and my kids were not excited. Even when they came in the room, something was amiss. I'm in chapter 5. I covered the basics of chemistry and everything. We just moving. And I started chapter 5. I was writing on the board. I was excited. I was hopping. I was skipping. I was smiling. And it was quiet. Juniors and seniors are not quiet. Homecoming coming up and everybody's quiet. Something is wrong. So I'm halfway writing, and I notice this is the 80s, so I'm not scared that somebody is going to do me some harm, and that's why it's so quiet. Something is wrong. So I turn around. What gives? What gives? We don't have good grades. Well, you need to study. You already gave us 4 tests. And we did horrible. Everybody had something, even a quiet kid had something to say. I said, okay, let me know what you didn't understand about chapter 4. We can do this again. One little girl raised her hand, nothing. I said, well, the whole class, you feeling that? He said, yeah. I said, cool, I got you. We'll go back over chapter 4. Mr. Julian, what's the problem? We didn't understand chapter 3. And now I'm holding my head. Then I noticed something. The whole class got in a huddle. Now I'm getting nervous. I never seen students that didn't like each other get in a huddle. I'm like, what's going on? They say, give us a minute. Now I'm getting very nervous. Give you a minute for what? I'm in rural Louisiana. They got snakes, they got everything out there. So, and you know I'm scared of snakes. So one guy on the football team said, we just was trying to get a spokesperson. Why do you need a spokesperson to talk to your teacher? Because we all don't want to say the same thing. So this little quiet girl tells me we were in the huddle and we didn't understand chapter 2 either. Now I'm spinning. I'm totally upset. You telling me I have to go back to chapter number 2? I said, wait a minute. I'm not going to even ask this question. No, I got to ask this question. What was the last thing that you understood that came out of my mouth? They told me the definition of chemistry. That was the first day of class. I spun around in a circle. I went to my desk and I laid my head down. A couple of the kids came to me, Mr. Jewell, are you having a heart attack? I'm in my 20s. How can I have a heart attack? Come on now. What is wrong? What is wrong? Why did you wait until October the 23rd to tell me you didn't get any of it? They went in a huddle again. Now I'm getting mad with this huddle thing. Say what you got to say. The spokesperson said this to me. We didn't want to say anything, and we all agreed that you were having so much fun. We didn't want to stop you. So, Mr. Jewell, are you going to start today? I said, not today. We're not going to start today. We're going to start tomorrow. I got to regroup. Well, it looked like you want to say something. I said, no. The things I want to say will cost me my job. So this is what I'm going to do. I'm going to sit at my desk. You'll remain at your desk. And tomorrow, we'll start all over again. And we'll start over from day 1. But we're going to do something different. Mr. Julian is not going to have all the fun. I want you to take your chairs and form a circle. I'm not going to stand up there and teach to a board anymore. I'm going to teach to you. And you're going to teach me chemistry, and we're going to have a conversation. That class was the only class that the majority of the students, 50% of them, got A's out of the class. Because I stopped having fun, and they start learning. Who was lazy in that story and why? I know the answer. Don't be afraid. I know the answer. No, I know the answer already.
Yeah, so listen, there was a different responsibility for each person. In the midst of your fun, you forgot that just because you said it doesn't mean that they learned it.
Correct.
So that's one piece. But it's also incumbent upon a junior or a senior to be able to speak up and speak out about what they don't know. And so there's onus on both parts. That's
Yes.
what I contend.
Yes.
Well, I have to say chemistry was my favorite topic. I got all A's. But I want to ask the question, after each chapter, you didn't give a test?
After each chapter,
Yeah.
I gave a test.
Well, how did
I
you do?
saw the grades. They didn't do well.
You already knew.
I saw the
Oh,
grades.
but you kept going.
I kept going. I'm on a mission.
Oh, you got to finish something, so you're going to finish what you got to finish. But they got left behind.
Yes, and in chemistry as well as math, everything is stacked on top of one another.
In the aspect of the students asking questions that they don't know, my question is, how do you know what you don't know?
How do you know? Okay, that's a good question. There's parts in the chapter. I did something, and it might help answering this question. When I was in microchemistry, not microchemistry, when biochemistry, I didn't understand it. I had no clue because you're mixing biology with chemistry, and that's not my forte. So I went to the professor and said, I don't understand this. And he said, what is this? I don't understand chapter 1. And he asked me, which part? I don't understand none of it. Again, sir, which part? He started throwing out topics that were in the chapter. And it was like a glaze over my eye. He said, you didn't read the chapter. That's why you don't understand. You cannot point out anything that you don't understand. So when you come to me, be more specific in what you don't understand. How do I know you read this? How do I know you prepared this? So I'm not sure that answered your question. What the student have to do is they have to search out and tell you which particular part they don't understand. And then you have a starting point, if that helps.
I used to always say that the only stupid question was the one you didn't ask. Because a lot of times you have it. You have that question, but you don't, sometimes also we don't want other people to know that we don't know.
Right, and in tutoring, I see that. I would tell the students, look to your right, look to your left. Those are the questions. The question that you ask is the one that your colleagues wanted to ask. And then I tell them, look at me. You asking me the question, not them. And like you said, there's no such thing as a stupid question. It's a question. I'm going to finish up with my last story. And it's kind of comical, in a way, to some people. It wasn't to me. Running out of the weekend and time. 2 weeks after I retired, I have a custom of doing my lawn work. It was about 11:30. I just ate lunch. I went out there with my lawnmower. And I cut the grass, and I looked at my neighbor's grass, and I cut the grass again because we got this little competition who has the best grass on the block. And I saw some weeds, and I pulled the weeds, and I saw a screw that came loose underneath the back porch. I was working on that, and my wife came out and said, "What are you doing?" "I'm working." "What's up?" "Just ask." It was about 3 o'clock. Then I saw something that went wrong with the garage. I'm not sure it was the knob or was it the door. So I'm working on that, and I finished that too. Then it was this lever on the fence that I was trying to adjust, but I had a hard time because now it was dark, and my wife came out and said, "Is something wrong?" "No, I'm working." You know, it's getting kind of late. I'm like, oh my God, why is she out here? It's not like I'm sitting down doing nothing, I'm working. So she stepped back in the house, and I guess she said, I'll give him about 5 more minutes. She said, why are you doing all these things? Why? I mean, and I'm like, what is wrong with you? Don't you understand? I work on Saturday. Tomorrow we have to go to church, and we're supposed to go to so-and-so house, and we need to do this on Sunday. Saturday is my only day because Monday I have to go back to work. She smiled. She said, Jim, you're retired. Every day is a Saturday. When she said that, I did a Charlie Brown. I was so embarrassed. I grabbed my tools. I put them up, and I didn't say anything the rest of the evening. How can you forget that you're retired? That is so sad. We have found out to be unhurried and lazy are not equivalent. Jesus wasn't unhurried and he wasn't lazy. He was engaged, he was hardworking, he was perseverant, and he was conscientious. While we're reading this book about an unhurried life, we know that unhurried is not equivalent of being lazy. But you can't be lazy, but unhurried is still getting the job done. So one of the things I try to go over is that if we know the definition of laziness and we know there are reasons why people do the things they do, maybe we'll have a second thought when we start labeling people as being lazy rather than unhurried. Any more questions? It's time. All right, well, thank you for your time. Oh, okay, good. Thank you. Thank you.